Hello and welcome to part 4 of Adventures with Ghost Prince. In this episode, I want to talk a little bit about what happened in February of 2016 that somehow alerted me that things would change, but I had no idea. And how you can't know how you will react. You can think you know how you will react to certain things, but until it happens, you can't know. And the good part about that is that you fully feel the experience. This might be a shorter video, hopefully. So I was working with a coach. Her name is Jalen. I had been working with Jalen since 2009, and she's amazing. She's wonderful. And so she could bring my guides and teachers through as clearly as I can for other people, which is cool. And so in February of 2016, my guides gave me a word, and the word was unshakable. And I didn't understand what that meant. And she said, well, they're just saying, like, remain solid in your knowing. Remain solid in that. And I'm like, oh my God, is my husband going to die? Or my dog's going to die? What's going to happen? Like, I always go to that place first, like, oh my God, who's going to die? And my guides were like, shut up already. Take a pill. But basically what she said was, something is coming. It's going to rock your world, but it's also going to expand it. Stay solid in your knowing of who you are, and don't get shaken. Okay, so I fretted about that for probably 2 weeks. And my guides would give me no other information on it. So, then I just kind of like, all right, well, it'll be what it's going to be. So, of course, then April 21st happened. And it was interesting to me because at the time I didn't see it. It probably took me about 3 months before it dawned on me that this was what they were talking about. This. Because, and that's the part, that I think is interesting. Had my guide said to me through Jalen, okay, look, Prince is going to die in April, and it's going to shake your world in a way you have no idea, and you're going to be a completely different person when you come out the other side. I would have been like, all right, that's interesting. Prince is going to die. How will that change my world? So what they did was they gave me the foundation. Okay, so something is coming. It's not your husband or your dogs, okay? And I kept seeing a table with 4 legs. You can shake the table, but the table remains solid and upright. And that's kind of the energy that I was getting. And so when I looked back, I was like, that's what they were talking about. But if you had known in the moment, it would have changed the experience. I would have been like, okay, is Prince going to die now? Okay, how's my life going to change? Because I have that kind of mind that you give me something and I will ruminate on it and I'll look at all the possibilities. And so it was kind of like, I'm glad I didn't know, because I wouldn't have had the authentic experience of going through that. That's why, when people sometimes come to me for readings and they talk a little bit about, what's going to happen? What's going to happen with this job? What's going to happen with this person? Blah, blah, blah. I tell that story in a really condensed way that you can't know for sure because it changes the experience. So allow the experience to just kind of flow and be what it's going to be for you. But looking back, I can see, and as I've said, it feels very much like my life has changed. And one of the ways that it changed was, Prince wanted to create what's called a mystery school, which is really a school that just does particular kinds of esoteric, meaning hidden, teachings. These aren't hidden anymore, but esoteric meant that. And I said to him, now I know what a mystery school is, but I said to him, I don't really know what you're talking about. What are you talking about with this? And he said in his little snarky way, why don't you Google it? So I did. I Googled mystery school, and I couldn't find anything on the first couple of pages that really resonated with me. It was like, well, okay, I'm not really sure. How does this fit? And I got to the 4th page of Google, and I saw Seven Sisters Mystery School. And I was like, oh, that looks interesting. 7, that's Prince's number. I'll take a look. I go to this webpage, and there's doves, there's purple, and the 7. And he said this. And so I looked at it, and it is a course, a bunch of courses, many courses, of training one to be an oracle, meaning you open up to the deeper wisdom that is available to you and you bring it through. And Prince goes, here, go there, go in that direction. And I was like, but what? And he was like, just go. And I remember looking at the sales page for the first level training, and it was really long. And I was like, get to the part where I give her money. Just scroll, scroll, scroll. Here, take my money. Like, I could not give her that money fast enough, because it was very clear to me that that was the next step for me. It wasn't even about creating a mystery school. He's such a dork because he does it like sideways. And maybe I'm the dork and he's the wisdom person, and he has to do it sideways. But I started training, and I went on. I'm just about to complete level 4 of my Priestess of the Dove training. And what it's done is it has deepened and expanded my ability and my confidence, which was already pretty good, in transmitting messages not only from divine beings, from my higher self, my divine higher self, the part of me that knows, my goddess self. You have that self too. And so the second level of the priestess training was very in-depth, and it really like expanded my connection with how I do my work. And one of the pieces of that was to get grounded, as well as connecting up. Now I'm a very like, let's just float up into the earth, into the skies kind of chick. And being grounded was difficult for me, because being down in a physical body is not my favorite place to be. But my soul chose it, so all right then, I'll go along with the game. But what I learned from that, because we grounded and we ran energy every session and in between, was that the importance of being connected to the earth deeply and to the cosmos, right, deeply, was important. And I had been missing half of that equation entirely. So my work took on a very different flavor. And that was the up level that he was preparing me for. When we first started working, about preparing me to, look more professional, like you wouldn't know, but I'm wearing a Paisley Park shirt, to look more professional, to be more professional in my work. And then I was ready, because I did that, for the deepening of that work. And it just cracks me up, because I'm a dove priestess, and Prince pointed me in that direction. So there's another example of when that shows up, you have no idea where that's going to lead you. But if you're willing to follow that, then cool things can happen. And what happened from that was really just an expansion of my abilities and my willingness to get out there. Not only to channel Prince and to bring Prince through for people, which I still do if they request it, but really to help others tap into that part of themselves that knows it. So he is fully responsible for pointing me in that direction. I'm fully responsible for going and doing the work. And so my adventure with him, I find, for me, he is a very loving, wise mentor, and he knows the direction. And so when I get that guidance, I tap into my inner sovereignty and I choose into it most of the time. There really hasn't been anything, I will say, there hasn't been anything that he's asked me to do that I have not willingly considered and done. Because I trust him. And that's part, I think, of the, you know, I talked about I did 10 hours working with people and bringing his energy through, that I felt very safe. I already felt safe in that energy because of connecting with him anyway through my life. But, you know, Ghost Prince is really wise and loving and amazing. And so I chose to trust that. So I consider him to be really one of my premier teachers, my spiritual teachers in this lifetime, in many ways. In so many ways, you know, when I was younger and now in a spiritual way. And, you know, you can certainly touch in with that energy of him, that part of him, the part of his soul that knows and is willing to support you in where you want to go. So yeah, that's interesting, I think, all of that. I just look back and I'm like, holy cow, right? Anyway, that's it for part 4 of this. I will certainly be back with more and kind of looking at the lessons that I've learned from him and the experiences that I had. If you knew me at the time of the celebration 2018 in Paisley Park, I had a really transcendent experience there that I will never replicate. I'm even like, should I go back again? Because it was such an experience. I will never forget it, ever, ever, ever. Okay, now I'm starting to cry again. It was a beautiful experience. We'll talk about that next time. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. Bye.